welcome to Season 2 of the GR8 Minds Podcast, brought to you by the Wharfedale, Airedale and Craven Alliance. I'm David Pugh, going to be hosting today, and I'm joined by a couple of guests. I'm delighted to say that we've got some young people here today, so Season 2 is going to be focusing on hearing from a number of young people from the area and hearing their opinions and their experiences of mental health and other issues going on. I'm also joined by Matt Smith today.
Morning.
Matt, I will allow you to introduce yourself and say a little bit about your role.
Cool, yeah. So, I work on behalf of the modality practices in Airedale, Craven and Wharfedale. So, Skipton, Silsden, Cross Hills. I'm really excited to be working kind of alongside Dave and the GR8 Minds team, providing support for young people in the area. It's quite exciting. I've only really just started. It's been like a few months, so but I'm excited to be here as well. Thank you for having me.
Good to have you here, and good to have you working in the area as well. So now we're also joined by a couple of the young people that I mentioned. So I will hand over to them, allow them to introduce themselves, and if you guys can just tell us a little bit about yourselves, so not just your names, but something interesting about yourself, maybe.
Okay, well, my name's Lina. I'm a sixth former and within Craven. So at the moment I am doing my A-levels, and actually they are kind of difficult, I'm not gonna lie, but we're getting there. I study psychology, English language and politics, so 3 very heavy subjects, but they're fun at the same time. So I'm gonna pass it on to Haider.
Hi, I'm Haider. I also am a sixth former, and I also study the same subjects as Lina. We have a lot in common.
Yep.
We also have worked in the past year on mental health, making sure awareness is spread. We worked with Citizens UK and the Bradford Alliance on making sure that young people are heard and that mental health is at the forefront. Mm-hmm. Making sure that no one is left behind in this battle. Mm-hmm. And making sure that school-based counselling is something that we have across Bradford. And yeah, we've just been doing that a little bit. And now
That sounds like amazing kind of work, and needed, really needed.
It is.
Yeah, it is needed.
Yeah, I think that it's great that both you two have got involved with that, because we need sort of older young people to push that, to
really
support
champion it,
everyone else in school and things like that. So no, it's really good to hear that that's going on.
Of course.
So well done, and thank you for doing that as well.
Yes. Can I ask them a really important question?
Go ahead.
Yeah, go for it.
If you could only have one condiment for the rest of your life, right, what are you choosing?
barbecue sauce.
Barbecue sauce, all right. Okay, interesting. Row one.
Just barbecue sauce. It just makes everything tangy and sweet. It's got that mixture you can both have.
Okay.
And you can just have it with everything, I feel like.
Nah, mine has to be chili sauce. Like, if you don't have chili sauce, I'm sorry.
I cannot believe ketchup's not getting a shout out.
No, ketchup, I don't know. I'm not thinking about ketchup.
If I have too much ketchup in my mouth, it's like...
Mayonnaise? Anyone mayonnaise?
Yeah.
You
see, I was initially going for ketchup, but then I'm like, no, ketchup, I can have it, but mayonnaise, I always like mayonnaise a little bit different. Your face doesn't look impressed here.
No.
No.
I know.
It's barbecue sauce, that's why.
Barbecue sauce.
Yeah. So.
Barbecue chicken.
Yeah.
Everything barbecue.
Yeah, sweet chili
Yeah, but you can
sauce,
have chili chicken.
Oh,
though.
yeah.
You know, like, you can have chili noodles. Like, chili goes with everything practically.
Yeah, you can't have ketchup noodles, that's not a thing.
No.
You know, barbecue noodles.
Full disclosure though, as when I was a student at uni,
guess so.
for some reason I didn't know tinned tomatoes existed, so I would just make pasta and put ketchup in it.
Oh, no.
That's what the girl at my school does. She has this white chicken with white pasta. Like, she does not put anything on it. And she gets ketchup.
Yeah.
And she literally eats ketchup with her.
That sounds like
chicken.
my student days. Yeah.
Oh, no.
So like just plain pasta, and then how much ketchup are you using here?
Oh, like a good, good. I don't know. I can't quantify how much ketchup came out of the bottle, but
Oh gosh.
Oh, no. Half
Does
a
it make
bottle?
your mouth numb after a while?
I put a lot of cheese on it as well, though, to be fair. But that was my those big like huge bags of pasta, some kind of adds supermarket. I was going to say supermarket value ketchup, and then loads of cheese. That was my student life. So you have that to look forward to. Although barbecue pasta. We digress.
I'm gonna get an air fryer.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can put in my room, air fry everything. I'm probably just gonna eat wraps for the rest of my life at this point. Yeah. Just throw anything in a wrap and eat it.
Someone air fried me a hot cross bun the other day.
Oh wow. Okay.
Revelation! It was unbelievable.
Yeah, the air fryer is revelation.
It was pretty good actually. I was surprised.
And it's cheap.
Very cheap. Yeah. It's very eco-friendly, conscious. I like it. I like where your head's at.
Air fryer.
I wish they need to like make something to clean the
Just
dishes.
turn it on whilst you start typing your work up.
Yeah, that's what it
yeah.
is. You put a timer on.
Like 10 minutes and done, isn't it?
It's a good investment.
Chicken wings. Barbecue chicken wings in the air fryer.
The chicken wings.
Just live on your barbecue sauce.
Yeah.
And chicken wings.
We're not sponsored by any of these sauces.
No, we're not.
Not yet.
Not yet. Unless they want to get in touch and give us loads of money for
Well,
it.
we didn't talk about any brands yet, so.
I'll say any barbecue sauce manufacturers, hit us up. Send an email.
Hit me up.
And chili sauces.
And do some tasting.
Chili sauce.
And chili sauces.
And mayo for me,
No.
I just remember the first time we met David. He was standing there by himself
I
for
know.
the whole day, and then me and Lina went
were
up
like,
to him.
"Hi."
He was like, "Hi, David," because me and Lina were like, "Should we go?" And he was just standing there.
And then I was
another
like,
lady,
"Let's just
and he was
go."
like, "No one's going up," because it's a bit awkward for young people to go up and start talking about mental health.
Yeah.
And we was like, "Oh, David, we do mental health too," and we know how it's awkward because not many young people like come in contact and talk about mental health. So we felt sorry for you, David.
Yeah, David, we were like seeing you.
But that's how we got here.
We started talking to me, so that's how it's ended up here. Because I know we'd been in school and we'd done even at break time and in the main hall, loads of young people came up, and then we moved into the sixth form centre, and
nobody came.
I think it's a little bit different. Everyone's eating the lunch in there, aren't they? And
Yeah, it's like
kind
a
of just stood
mixed
there
social area.
waiting, whereas in the hall everyone can just come through, get a snack at break, and then go. They can come over. And we had a tin of sweets as well, which I think interested a lot of people over. So I think it was come over, get some chocolate, and then they're like, all right, I'll chat to you for 20 seconds.
About
take
the
away
sweet.
About the sweet, yeah.
Whereas for the sixth formers, we didn't have the sweets, so yeah.
So it wasn't intriguing enough, I guess.
So, sorry to discriminate.
But we were intrigued enough to come over and say
Yeah.
hi. We were intrigued because we do quite a lot on mental health. We go to like so many well-being boards and we address the problem. We thought, hold on a minute, there's mental health there, so we both just got really interested and we came over.
Because
and
we asked for
asked.
more provisions for mental health, so we were like,
Yeah.
this two people were standing there and
I know, nothing's happening. What's
yeah.
going on? Why does it look empty? We need to go.
and then because a lot of young people might complain there's not enough facilities out there. There are facilities, they just need to be used properly.
Yeah.
But we did feel sorry for you, David. That's the
Yeah,
only reason
David, we
went
saw
up
you
there.
stood there lonely and we were like,
David,
David.
if you did put the sweets out, we would have been there much faster.
Yeah, we would have came running.
No, for next time.
So everybody else likes the sweets and not me, and you're just like,
Oh no, we like you, David.
We felt sorry for you, yeah.
Yeah, we had some sympathy for you there.
we prefer sweets, but
We were trying to save your mental health for that.
I know.
thank you.
He must have been looking really sad. So
He was
He was
packing his
actually
things
really
away.
lonely. He was like, I'm putting this away.
Yeah, you
I
had
was
to
like,
get a leaflet out of your bag for us because he was packing everything away.
Yeah.
It might have been when I was leaving, probably when you guys saw
it's
me,
alright,
yeah.
because we were
Might
in
be.
lessons. That's why. And then we came over and we were like, oh, what's that? We ate our lunch. We were like, what's that there? And you were like, oh, I don't know. I think it's for mental health. And we were like, okay, let's go check it out.
So
we
in the
came, check it
introduction, you
out.
talked about some of the stuff that you've got involved with in terms of mental health, championing well-being and mental health. So you talked about going to some well-being boards and things like that. So what as sixth form students, what have you kind of managed to get involved with? What have you kind of essentially really been shouting about in terms of trying to get stuff for young people?
So
Do you wanna go first?
I feel like our journey for mental health starts in the pandemic, which is 2 years ago. So we joined Citizens UK,
Yeah.
and then because we joined Citizens UK, Bradford Citizens was born, and we voted for our manifesto for 2 years in a running, and mental health was a priority, and many young people there saw an epidemic born out of a pandemic.
Yeah.
Because it was once 1 in 4 people had mental health before the pandemic, but I don't know what the numbers must be crazy now
Oh,
because
they must have really increased by a
because
lot.
of the problems that the pandemic created, it just left a very big dent within the young people, and they just wanted to shout and make some attention around it, because people of power were listening in the pandemic because the public were holding them to account, and they felt like they had a very big leverage and platform to voice what we were saying. So we spoke to some big names in the game, let's just say.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And we are starting to get a bit of movement, but it's just to show that young people's voice does get heard eventually. You just need to get the right platform and the right attention and the right noise.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And so, yeah, there's kind of like a slow movement now to kind of get more provision for young people, and then I guess for the likes, essentially kind of champions of that work that you guys are, like spreading the word that it's there, and spreading the word that there's people there to listen, there's people there to kind of walk with you through it all, and it's very much kind of what the Great Minds team and me over at Modality, that's what kind of we're trying to really encourage, is that there's stuff out there for young people. You don't have to walk by yourself up through it, do you?
Of course, yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
And hopefully we can link people up to those things if they are struggling. So if there isn't listening who thinks, yeah, that does sound like something that I'm finding difficult, and it can be for all sorts of different reasons,
Of course, yeah.
then they can get in touch and connect up with those services through us, hopefully, and that might help a little.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah.
You're not alone.
I know, no one should suffer in silence. Everyone should speak.
Absolutely.
100%, yeah.
And this is a safe space, so you can talk about really whatever you want. And if you ever feel like something's bothering you, you should start a conversation. It might not take you somewhere, but talking about it rather than being quiet is a big thing.
Absolutely.
And that initiation of a conversation can go a very long way.
It can, yeah. And another thing is actually, like we used to get taught in our old school, and actually they used to say it quite a lot. Don't ever let the bucket fill or overflow, because it can get
Poke some holes
so
in the bucket.
bad. Because you'd rather poke a hole in the bucket and introduce a conversation rather than just let it flow, and it just gets 100 times worse.
And the more you kind of talk about it, the kind of more let's say practiced at it you get, you kind of learn a little bit more about kind of actually you process more about how you're feeling, about what's impacting you, and you learn kind of how to kind of communicate that better.
Yeah, and how to deal with it, yeah.
Yeah, and then the more holes you poke in that bucket, I guess.
Exactly, yeah.
The better you get.
The more,
As young people, I feel like in today's society, as young people, we are seen as we're born out of a generation of a pandemic. As young people, we have had a lot of problems, and a lot of people paint young people in a way that they don't care, and we do care, and we're people with feelings.
Yeah, we are.
And we want to create change, and we are the next generation, and we really want to create a better world for ourselves, because if you look at a lot of politicians nowadays,
The empty promises that they give. Yeah.
There's just a lot of lies, bed of lies,
Yeah,
and
it's just bad.
young people just want a nice place.
I guess there's possibly a sense of almost kicking the can down the road, not doing, or there seems to be not much meaningful action where you guys you want to see change now, don't you?
Yeah,
Our
even if it's small, if it's small change.
Our generation is going to be the change. A lot of people have said it. We're more speaking about mental health. We're talking about climate change. We're talking about all these important issues which your generation and the generation before.
I am feeling really old.
Gen Z.
Oops.
I think I'm millennial.
I tried.
This is the point again where you can say, "Oh no, you're
still young.
That old,
You don't look old.
before."
It's you don't
I've won this battle.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I thought was really interesting, you talked about just kind of speaking up, starting a conversation, and we're going to look at a little bit about kind of general anxiety today, won't we? And I feel like for some people the idea of starting that conversation can be quite anxiety inducing, can't it?
Yeah, it can.
And actually to hear you guys talk about it, it's actually really encouraging to say just if you can, if you've got it within you, just do it. Could be with one person, it could be with a friend or you know.
Yeah, it's like whoever you kind of trust to confide in, to be fair.
Yeah.
Like, if you find someone that you can confide in, you know, go for it. Just sit down and have a chat. It's always going to help you in some way, you know, or some way, shape or form. Because if you just stay really quiet and you just hide, then it's just going to overflow. Once again, you book it, and honestly, it's just not going to end, you know, a great way. So you'd rather just poke some holes in it and just give yourself a chance to kind of find some sort of alternative. Because sometimes you might not get much out of, like, just speaking. You might think, oh yeah, but it hasn't changed, what's going on? But actually, you confiding in someone might make you feel that you might have some sort of trust, you know, you might feel much better. You might release something, you know, instead of just sitting there quietly and think, oh well, yeah, no one cares, you know, no one understands me, so I'm just going to stay quiet. But the reality is everyone cares.
And I think that can be done in loads of different ways as well.
So many ways, yeah.
Chatting to mates, there's chatting to parents, teachers, whoever. And then now there's all sorts of stuff, couth.com, where you can go online and chat anonymously to other people about things that you might, well, I don't want to tell my friends that, or I don't want to tell my parents or anything. But, you know, you can do that anonymously online on couth.com, and other people might be going through similar things to you and be able to offer a little bit of advice, a little bit of support with that, and help out. And then there's other things as well, like if people are feeling low, there's give us a shout text service. Text the word shout to 85258 and someone will reply to that to offer a bit of support to you there. So there are loads of ways that you can start that conversation, no matter who it's with. Thinking about that and thinking about starting things off and new experiences, that's often the hardest thing to do, the hardest step to take, just getting your foot in the door. Tell us, first of all, do you have any experiences that you've had where you felt pretty nervous beforehand, and how did you get through that? And then also, just as something a little bit lighthearted, have we got any embarrassing sort of introductions or situations where we then got through it and moved on and it was okay, and sure that actually these things happen and it's all right?
So funny enough, my anxiety stories all include a toilet or the bathroom. And I actually had a bathroom incident recently where I had an exam, a psychology exam, and I walked into the bathroom door because I was that anxious. And
like,
I walked out.
It was like a pull door and you walked into it? Like,
I don't know what I did, but I just walked into the door. And I walked out of the toilet with a big lump on my face.
Oh, I remember you were showing me.
So anxious for my exam. I'd worked like the night before and I was tired. So I just was going into psychology exam with a big lump on my face.
How long was this before the exam?
5 minutes.
Yeah.
5 minutes.
Yeah, because I remember.
So
if I fail, concussion. We blame it on the concussion.
Yeah, I remember him running to me going, I just walked into the bathroom door, and I was like, what? And he was like, I walked into the bathroom door. Look, I looked at it and it was like red, and I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
that's quite special.
Are you okay? And he was like,
That's a treasured story, though.
I do worry that you say all of my anxiety stories and introduction things seem to be toilet based. There's more. Because you've given us one there.
Yeah.
I'll keep count.
I'm gonna say.
So I like to drink a lot of liquids before, and liquids just calm me before I go into an anxious environment.
Yeah.
So it was first day of year 7, and I just hated form. And I just wanted to get out. So I thought, what better way to just hide in the toilet, as a normal 11-year-old would do. So I just ran off to the nearest toilets, and it was the girls' toilets. And it was my sister's year, I think. She's 3 years older than me, and I just remember going into the toilets, and then I just hear girls laughing, and then I get confused, like, what is going on? And then I had to check if the coast was clear.
I'm guessing you heard some gossip, juicy gossip of them girls.
There was a lot of gossip. And I just ran out in embarrassment, and everyone just was staring, and I was like...
Did people see you going out? Okay, right.
I was like,
that's even worse.
I was making a roof with my hands.
You were like,
thinking that I'm Harry Potter with my hands.
Honestly.
And this was at the start of year 7?
Yeah, and then have one recently, toilet one again.
I told you, so that's 2 out of 3. Is there any more, Haider?
I have 3. I don't know if I have, a third one.
Okay, go for it.
So, I started a job, fish and chip shop. So I never brought my uniform in that day. Lovely. Love to start a shift without my uniform. And I got asked to change, and I got changed in the girls' toilet. It's because...
Again.
It's because, you know the pictures on the doors?
Do you know which one's which? Is this...
Yeah, now I know.
Now you know.
The one
Now
on
he
the
knows,
third
yeah.
one is... But no one goes into these toilets, and they both have the same toilet seats, so it's... Like,
Okay.
You probably just went, oh, wipe the sweat off my head, Shona.
yeah. And I feel like anxiety sometimes just does crazy things to you.
Yeah.
And it definitely has made me go into toilets. Going to toilets. And yeah, it just feel like sometimes you need to just breathe. It's going to be okay. Like, when I walked in and I saw you, I was a bit nervous. I'm going to be honest. It takes me like a couple of minutes to warm up to someone. Because the first time you meet someone, they judge you really hard. It's human nature.
It's normal.
And I don't want to leave someone that I'm working with for a very long time with a bad impression of myself. So I just like act like the quiet one until they know, and the devil underneath. The devil with no filter.
Literally.
And yeah, really, just be yourself, and they will truly love you for who you are.
I think that's a really important point, though, isn't it? Like there is a lot of kind of anxiety, particularly around kind of meeting new people.
Yeah.
Particularly if you don't feel necessarily that confident about yourself at the time. Like the idea that someone else would like you, you know, when you're not feeling great about yourself is really difficult to kind of get over, isn't it? And yeah, just to kind of like just be yourself. Like people will like that.
Yeah.
People want that, don't they? Just like that authenticity and.
Yeah, because in today's society, I feel like many people are not real.
It's
Society has lost the authenticity. I can't even say authentic.
Authenticity.
Yeah, that word.
Enthusiastic. Like, what you on? Which one?
Which
Yeah.
word in the whole English
Which
language
one?
would you like us to pick?
Yeah, that word.
Vocabulary.
I feel like a lot of people are not authentic, and you just need to really be yourself.
Yeah.
I feel like I am myself most of the time.
You are, Haider. You are.
So, but like following on from that, do you find the times when you're maybe not feeling yourself, like, do you notice a difference in kind of, I guess, like your mental health in that situation? Like, are you kind of happier in yourself when you're, like you say, acting yourself, or? That's quite a difficult question. I apologise.
It's okay. Mental health is a spectrum. I believe it's a spectrum.
Yeah,
Many people
it is,
is many different things, and I feel like you have your good days, you have your bad days,
Yeah.
and there's always a middle. And I like to be on the happy side.
Of course, we all
So
do.
then you get your days where you're sad and you can't be your true self because things and experiences force you not to push them feelings underneath. So then you just... Some people turn angry and be this annoying monster.
Yeah.
And then you get them people who are just quiet.
Yeah.
It's just keeping that good balance.
It is. It's all about maintaining.
Everyone can... You can be a monster sometimes. It's okay. Like, everyone has their good and bad days. Like, sometimes, trust me, I am the biggest monster ever.
And you know what? There's probably something in that actually, around emotions, there's nothing wrong with being angry. Sometimes we see it as these like positive and negative things.
Yeah.
There's probably some stuff that we should get pretty angry about.
Yeah.
I mean, if I just started punching you in the face now,
I'd get pretty mad. Yeah.
I mean, it's tempting at times, but
we just watch and record,
Yeah, I'll just
Get
watch.
on TikTok, yeah.
But yeah, I think then it's just about how we deal with those emotions and let them out, and like you say, poking a hole in the bucket to release some of those emotions in a positive way, and having some good coping.
Lina's analogy is a bit weird. Poking a hole in the bucket. I like to say, unshackle yourself, like, because I like to use shackles as an analogy because you know when chains they have like those
links, yeah.
Oh,
links.
Yeah. No, I
like,
say the bucket.
take a link out. Like, don't let yourself drown to the bottom. I like to use chains and water as an analogy because it's better.
Okay.
So I like to say, like, you put a big heavy metal ball at the bottom of the water and just don't let that chain get smaller and smaller and smaller. Keep adding links to it so you stay above the water.
So like kind of linking with people,
Yeah.
like people of those links in place. Like okay, yeah.
No, I see the bucket analogy because the more pull you pull, more water comes out. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, so
it's like the flow of the water.
Say if like the water going in is like anxiety or whatever, like
exactly.
you want to kind of you don't want that bucket to overflow. No, you don't want to be kind of consumed by anxiety, do you?
Exactly. Yeah. That's what I say. That's why I keep using the bucket of water analogy, and you come up with like jackals and links and
So I shared my embarrassing story of anxiety now. Do either of you two have an embarrassing anxiety story?
I don't have one.
I have an embarrassing introduction story. So yeah, it was a place that we used to work, and it'll probably sound quite strange when I describe this, but yeah, I'd just been made full time after working there. 6 months?
Yeah, 6 months.
And then I'd just been made full time, and it was first team meeting on a Monday morning. And because there were a couple of new staff there, they brought in the directors. So I'd never met a couple of these directors before. And where we used to work, they used to sit around, have a team meeting, and then finish off with different activities and stuff like that, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
And on this day, they were like, "Oh, we're going to get into a huddle."
Oh.
So everyone put their arms around each other. So yeah, I was next to the director. So he's on my right hand side. Now, I've had quite a few injuries with my shoulders. So I've had 4 shoulder operations now. And this was just after I'd come back from a shoulder operation. So we were asked to put our arms around each other. So of course my arm wasn't at its strongest. So as we're in this huddle, it was moving further and further down this guy's back. And I was like, this director thinks that I'm going to be like trying to grab his bum. And I was like, this is my first day.
He's also quite a tall guy, wasn't he, as well? So it didn't have to fall that far.
So I was like, oh no. So my arm, I was in absolute agony afterwards from just trying to keep it up.
I can just imagine the pain.
Full on shaking, because I was after 5 minutes of being stood there.
That is worse than my toilet story.
So,
Yeah, it is.
I have to give you that one.
Fortunately, I don't think that I ever got to the point where my arm was anywhere near his one, but I was thinking, he's going to wonder why I pulled my arm away suddenly and not doing what's this. But yeah, that was where I felt pretty awkward.
I'm not sure I've got any embarrassing ones. I can definitely think of times when I've felt anxious, but I think it's probably been healthy that I felt anxious in those times. So so as Dave kind of alluded to, we used to work together at a charity, and we worked in some pretty kind of what's the word, kind of desperate, rough, deprived areas, didn't we? And we would kind of do some detached work, where you kind of go meet young people, kind of where they're at, any way that we could support them or kind of how they're doing. And some of these guys were huge, and it's terrifying talking to someone who doesn't know you. First of all, sometimes it's really terrifying, and then kind of, people and places get reputations, don't they? And that's kind of really scary. And then so I remember meeting this one lad called Joe. He was huge, and his family had a bit of a reputation, and it was actually turned out really kind of well. And he was like, "Hey Matt, can we go to Pizza Hut?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." And we went down and we did the lunchtime buffet, and we had a competition so you could eat more. I won.
Of course you won.
Thank you. How many slices? Yeah, but I don't know. I feel like kind of I've not really got any kind of embarrassment, but like that. I don't know. Anxiety is not necessarily negative. I think it's positive that we feel it sometimes. And it's making sure that your anxiety is kind of relevant to where you're at. Because I think often anxiety, you go on a rabbit hole, don't you? You kind of you get worried about something, and then suddenly you spiral and you find yourself worried about something that actually you don't need to be worried about in that moment. Yeah.
It's keeping that anxiety contained and not letting it overwhelm you, because if it overwhelms you, you'll do dumb things like I did.
Or you just forget food.
I feel like just take a deep breath in, breathe, and it's gonna be okay. And just really,
and if we can, when we're getting into those sort of spirals of overthinking something and our mind's, what if this happens? What if that happens? Well, the likelihood is a lot of the time it's not going to happen. So also think of some positive what ifs. So actually, what if it goes really well? yeah, and that's okay to think that. But then also bringing yourself back to the moment and going, right, this is where I actually am. I'm not needing to think about what if this happens in the future, because nearly all I worry is about what if future or past. Yeah, what if that person thought I was stupid, or I shouldn't have said that before. What if they didn't like this?
Yeah. So you kind of like sit there before you like you really constantly question yourself before you go up to that person. You're like, oh well, I don't want to say that because they might judge me, and I don't want to say that because they're gonna think I'm really horrible.
Yeah. Do you remember what I said 3 weeks ago? And like,
yeah, it's like
you worry about that, don't you? It's like, do they remember? Because I remember it because I was really embarrassed about it.
Image is important because image. I feel like a lot of young people like care about the image. I care about my image.
I care about my image. Yeah.
The way I present myself to some people and the way they react and they like me. Sometimes I change myself because I want to be liked. And I know that's bad because I talked about being fake.
Authentic. And,
But I'm not always it. I'm not always. But your anxiety gets the best of you and it makes you do stupid stuff sometimes.
Yeah.
But then you just reflect on your day. I feel like before you go into something new, you should maybe like put some expectations on yourself of what you want to achieve or what you want it to look like, and then maybe at the end of your first day, like reflect on it. See what could have gone better, what you have to let go of. Because sometimes that anxiety you can carry on into your sleeping. So do it well before your bedtime, maybe before you have tea or supper, whatever you call it.
Dinner, tea.
Tea, yeah. You see, yeah. I mean, actually, funny enough, to be honest, Haider knows how I was like back in secondary school. I was a very, very quiet girl. Like, it might be like really shocking because I speak for the world, but like literally, I was so quiet to the point where I don't know. I never used to ask. I never used to put my hand up in class. I used to just really shy away from everything. I used to be really anxious to be like, oh, I don't want to put my hand up because everyone will think I'm dumb. So I'm gonna keep my hand down and just stay quiet. So I used to be like really, really scared of just asking for help or anything like that. And then Haider was like, I became friends with Haider, and Haider was like, oh, we're doing some like student counselling thing. Do you want to do it? And my first question was like, I don't know. And he was like, no, you should do it. You should push yourself. I was like, okay.
I'm the reason behind Lina's confidence.
Okay.
I take all the credit.
I was like, all right, okay. So no, you can take the credit here because obviously you did help me at some point. So I was like, okay, do you know what? Maybe I should try it, right? So I was like, okay, I should push myself a little bit. So I pushed myself. I was like, okay, there's a chance I'll get into and become a senior prefect or not. So I signed up for it anyway, and I was shivering, giving my paper. I was like, yeah, miss, you can take the paper. Here's my application. And I put it on the table. And she was like, yeah, after a few days, she got back to me. She was like, oh, you're in. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm in.
I have to do something now.
I was like, oh, I'm in. Okay, great. So I remember I went back to Haider and I was like, oh, I'm in. And he was like, oh, that's great news. That's fantastic. And I was like, in my head, I was like, is it? Is it? I mean, we stood like in student council, and I'm gonna have to like, when they come to me around the table, and they're gonna be like, well, what do you think? I'm just gonna sit there blank, absolutely blank, because obviously back then I was so quiet. When it used to be my turn, I just sit there like, that's all it.
Yeah, I feel like your anxiety
it so bad.
It puts you like at a stop, like
it does,
and you can't do things, and like it makes you like feel like in a certain way. So I do psychology, so I'm gonna do a bit of
yeah, we both do, mate. We all do.
Bless us with your wisdom. Let's go.
Reframe your mind. I know it seems like a big thing, but reframe your mind. Like it's not what I'm not going to do. It's push yourself.
It's not even that. It's like the smallest things happen.
Out your comfort zone. Even though your comfort zone is like, oh, I don't want to step out of this. You push yourself until you know you can't do it or do it. You won't know. I feel like take risks. I've done a lot of charity work, and I was actually I had a whole page on what was it? So the Sunday Times.
Yeah, he's got his own little icon.
So I work with
I was like,
Magic Breakfast. I'm setting breakfast provisions for young people.
Okay.
So yeah, we have got breakfast provision for young people. So what our main aim around this is to get
free breakfast.
Yeah, free breakfast.
In the north, just like London.
So universal breakfast provision that is stigma free, because not a rich. I don't believe that rich people and poor people. I feel like children come under one hood, Like everyone should get the equal opportunity as a child. Like
you
having
could
breakfast.
be rich and you might not have breakfast.
Yeah, breakfast is very important. So
Exactly.
Well, it kind of what you're saying there kind of hits on the fact that like actually we don't know what's going on with people.
Yeah,
like,
you don't.
Just because. We talked about making snap judgments earlier, didn't we? We talked about kind of first impressions. Like our first impression can often be really wrong of people. And like if we can treat everyone equally, then that's
it's better. Yeah, it allows people to actually come out of the shell. You know.
Absolutely. One of the things that I was really interested in when you were talking about, like, because you guys have obviously kind of gained in confidence as you kind of got older, which is really good. For some of the people that might be listening to this, they might be a little bit younger and might feel like I'm never going to get there.
It all starts from but you know what? I'll be honest with you. No, it's not even that. It all starts from a little bit. It depends. No, it depends on how bad your anxiety is. Like with me, mine was like severe to the point I wouldn't even go into a shop and like go to the till and actually pay for something until my mum was like, "Can you go to the shop and get me milk? Because your sister ain't go in." And I used to be like,
okay. You took the risk.
And I took that risk. I remember I walked like 10 minutes to the shop and I was like, "I need some milk, please." And he was like, "Okay." And you knew that I was really, really, like, really scared and anxious. And he was like, okay. He was like, is it your first time? And I was like...
Can you tell?
I just nodded. I went, yeah. And the more I did it, the more I felt better. It's all through experience. The more you do it, the more experience you get in it, the more you feel, okay, I've got it. I've got this, self-efficacy, psychology. Yeah. Because the more, literally... The more faith you have in yourself, the more you think, oh, you can do it. You can do it. It's not about,
Yeah. And so from that place of feeling like really anxious at what might seem like a really small kind of thing about going to the shop to get some milk.
Yeah.
To the kind of place where you find yourself now, do you still find that you have to kind of wrestle with anxiety or like kind of deal with it at all? Or do you feel like you've kind of almost kind of overcome that? Not that it ever goes away, but do you like...
It's a spectrum, isn't it?
It is a spectrum, because sometimes, I'll be honest with you, we went to a wellbeing board and the board was just filled with people with a lot of authority and power, and we were like, I remember I was looking at Haider and I was like, what, do you feel the same way I'm feeling? He was like, yeah, I am just as scared as you are. I was like,
because I was sharing my personal story on my mental health.
Exactly.
And in front of powerful people, making myself feel very vulnerable. It was very
scary,
nerve-wracking, and I did it again in front of 400 teachers,
and then you did it again,
and then I did it again in front of
50 to
100 teachers I see on a daily basis. These are teachers that could judge me for my story, but I pushed myself out of my comfort zone. Until I have done like this, I still get anxious when I read my story out. But
100%,
the main moral of the story is we're not psychologists.
We're not.
We're real life.
Even though we like to be, we're like self-efficacy.
We're not psychologists. We're real young people who have had real experiences, and the moral of the story is push yourself out of your comfort zone and be yourself.
Yeah, and do not suffer in silence because it's not fair in yourself. You don't deserve to suffer in silence. Just always put the hole in the bucket. And
hole
speak.
In the bucket.
And speak.
To the chain.
Yeah, exactly. Or your analogy, Haider.
So, I just feel like I'm asking all the questions here. I'm really interested. I guess kind of trying to maybe bring this to a little bit of a close. Like, do you guys have any, you've shared quite a few tips and that's kind of really, really brilliant. But are there any other tips that maybe you feel like you'd quite like to share with people that maybe are listening to this? Because it's not just young people that might listen to this. There may be kind of adults that are listening to this that be like, do you know what? I've not tried that. I'm going to give it a go.
Okay.
Take a risk, push the boat. So are there any other tips, in particularly around kind of anxiety and kind of dealing with it, or ways that maybe you've dealt with it in the past? You talked about breathing, didn't you? Kind of count to 10, breathe. Are there any kind of tips and tricks that you have?
Oh, I have one.
I have reflect on your day. That is the biggest thing for me. But do it before you go to bed, because all you think about is that, and then you might dream on that too, and it's not healthy for you. So maybe reflect on your day and create a bit of a journal,
and then do something nice after it as well.
Treat yourself and make sure that you take care of your mental health. That is a big thing. I feel like many people don't take care of their mental health, and they just push themselves until
it goes to a breaking point, and then the bucket overflows.
Then don't push yourselves too far, But
Oh, no,
take
no.
the experiences, because I feel like my experiences that I've had over the past couple of years, from the pandemic, before the pandemic, have really shaped who I am. And that is very important as a young person, because the knowledge and experiences you gain as a young person really affect how you are as an adult.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
And if you have very positive experiences and if you have very negative ones, you can learn from them.
Yeah.
And even for all those adults out there, my main thing would be, you've had experiences in the past where you felt anxious, and how have you managed to crawl out of them, just do it again? Because everyone has bad days and we all have good days. It's just about keeping yourself afloat, and you know what rocks your boat. So if that's having a glass of champagne or
Or a wine, a red one.
or putting some Cardi B on, I don't know.
You don't know what old people do, do you?
No,
I
we
don't know what
what
old
you
people
guys
do.
Champagne and Cardi B, that is a Friday night, isn't it?
I've heard a lot of drunk people sing karaoke on a Friday night, so if karaoke tickles your boat, you go for it.
Karaoke,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Whatever makes you happy, I guess.
And
But
Lina,
I think
what was your tip?
I think my tip is, before you actually go into anything or do anything, just like prepare yourself before, you know? Like, just think about, okay, what might I be asked, you know? What can I do better? Before I step in, right, let's just think properly, you know? Okay, this is what I'm going to do. Focus on one thing first, because I know for a fact when you're actually anxious, your brain either goes empty or it goes everywhere, meaning you'd be thinking about 10 different things at once. Oh, but what if I get this wrong, or what if I get... Just focus on one thing, and once you focus on like one thing, you know that, okay, I can tick this box and I can move to another. Like, this is how it worked for me, like back to when I used to go to the shop and like pushing myself to buy items. My mum used to go from milk, and then it went from eggs and milk, and then it went from eggs, milk, and God knows what else. I used to be like, okay, where's the milk? It's in this aisle. Okay, where's this? But like, it's just that continuation of focusing on one thing, and then once you've ticked that box, you know that you're organized, and you know that it makes you feel less anxious. So when you actually do something, and same thing when it comes to like well-being, but I still do it. I will sit there and I'm like, okay, these are the questions I'm going to get asked, this is what I need to say. I'll sit there and actually I will mentally prepare myself. I'm like, okay, this sounds better than that, I'll say this instead, you know? So then just that, it also helped you. It's like a guidance in a sense. So when you get there at the time, you're not all over the place. You're not panicking, you know? You're not as anxious the way you normally would be. You're organized and you know what you're going to say. You're prepped. You know how it's going to go. So you know that it's going to go better. And then like Haider said, as soon as you get home, you lay in bed, you're thinking, okay, how could it have gone better? But this is what I've done too. So you know that it didn't go... Yeah, exactly.
Celebrate success.
Yeah, even
because you are your
small
own
things.
champion.
Do
You
it.
are.
Yeah, like literally
Absolutely.
celebrate everything. Like even the little moments where you might have said, oh, well, instead of saying the wrong thing, I said this thing. Okay, this is great, you know? So just sit there and say to yourself, okay, I'm doing well, I can continue. So I think what I'm trying to put out there is just be organised, just the preparation
And
is
most of all,
a big part.
be
And be
yourself.
yourself. Exactly.
Oh, it's like they practiced that.
No, we didn't practice it, it just came out.
Oh.
I think that's a really good way to finish as well. With, you know, you've highlighted some specific tips there. The preparation and going into things, you know, ready for what might happen. Reflecting, so looking back on things, what went really well, and highlighting those good things.
And celebrating.
champion your
Actually,
successes.
Yeah, and just
Because you're your biggest cheerleader in life.
Yeah.
And you might have a supportive network, or some people might not. But remember, it comes down to one thing. You champion your own successes and you push yourself to where you feel comfortable. Don't always be in your comfort zone, but don't be too far out of it. That's the important thing. Keep in that balance.
Helps growth, doesn't it? Like the
Personal growth.
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes I push myself, like I have like 3 to 4 events in a week, and I'm just really pushing myself to just get more so I can have more experience for university. But it's also having that work-life balance where I go at the end of the day and I don't feel over-exhausted. I have that balance. It's really important, balance.
It is. Balance is very important.
You guys have spoken a lot about that.
Some people don't have balance in their life, and me and Lina have had months where we've just like have 4 to 5 meetings in a week. It's really
so
like, it gets
crazy.
dumb sometimes.
It gets chaotic.
It was.
It really does. And we're like, okay, this meeting, what was this meeting again? This is what we do. We're like, what was this meeting again?
So when you
What
talk about
time?
being organised and prepared.
Yeah, literally.
You aren't all
And we're
of it.
like,
That's why we said we're not psychologists. We're
yeah,
real people.
exactly.
And it's also really important to say that actually, like, we're not perfect at this. You know, we're not. You know, there's
Practice.
you can always kind of learn a little bit more about yourself and about how you cope, can't you?
Yeah, because you're always
Yeah.
growing as people.
And and if you're at a point where you're struggling, reach out. You know, there's Great Minds. There's the young person's stuff at Modality as well. Now there's 2 places there that you can go, and we can plug you into places that will champion you, will kind of hopefully build confidence, will kind of help you with those stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Right. Well, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Yeah.
Today. I think it's been really useful.
I feel like we need a one-liner to open like
Yeah,
the...
literally.
Do you know how podcasts have one-liners when they open them? Like, because I listen to some juicy...
Do you mean like an
Yeah.
episode title?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
what do you want?
like...
Well, like a tagline or something.
Yeah, tagline when you open it, because I don't know. I kept saying we are not real psychologists. We are ordinary human people.
And I just kept saying, book it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe we can like a one-liner together.
Which one is it?
We might put something in the description.
I think
Yeah.
it'll take us a bit of time, but we probably will get one somewhere.
Yeah,
We'll think
think
of
of
it.
something.
Thanks for that. Yeah, it's homework for us.
One-liners.
One-liners.
Yeah.
Reach back to us when you have like a list of them.
Yeah.
And we will pick one.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we hope that you can join us again at some point in the future as well.
Oh,
For
yeah,
you know,
100%.
we'll look at other kind of aspects of mental health, because it's not just anxiety, is it? There's loads of other ones that we could have kind of branched off and talked about today. But I think it's good that we kind of focused in on anxiety today.
Yeah.
So yeah, and thank you for being with us. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. We enjoyed it. And we hope to do more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And shout out to
great.
Matthew on the tech.
Yeah.
Thanks, Matthew.
Thank you.
Perfect. Right, so that was the Great Minds podcast, brought to you by Wharfedale, Airedale and Craven Alliance. You're obviously listening to this on Spotify, or found it on our website and so on. But you can also find information about the Children and Young People's social prescribing service on our website, or also, I believe, on the Modality website for your work, Matt. And we look forward to supporting as many people as possible through those methods. Right, thanks a lot for listening to this episode of the Great Minds podcast. If you do have any questions, then please contact us, whether that's in person, we're in schools, we're in the GP practices, we're available to contact that way, or you can contact us through our Instagram page, which is at the Great Minds Podcast. So follow us on there, contact us on there. But other than that, thanks for listening.